What the hell did I just read? Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. So yesterday I finished up reading Fire and Fury, aka the Trump Tell-All, aka the only book in America that exists right now, and I have some thoughts about it and I thought I'd share them with you. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that as of this filming, you cannot get a physical copy of this book anywhere. I actually went out last Friday, the release date, to try to go pick up a copy at Barnes & Noble, and they were out, Target's out, Walmart's out. My Barnes & Noble is not taking reserves for them. Amazon's saying 1 to 4 weeks for shipment. I believe on Barnes & Noble they're saying the 19th. On Target it's saying the 22nd. So if you do want to read this book, you're either looking at going the Kindle/Nook route or you're going to be looking at an audiobook. The second thing is that yes, this book is every bit of batshit crazy that it's been advertised to be, and then some. I know leading up to the book's release, there was quite a few excerpts put out in different publications, and they really picked a lot of the more kind of lurid, tabloidy kind of things. But even excluding all of that, I still came up with 6 pages of shorthand notes of things that were not leaked prior to publication that are in this book. Like I can't even do pull quotes for this book. It would just be me sitting here reading you the whole book. It's really that nuts. It's very fast paced, and it is like every sentence is something new. Basically, the premise of the story is that the whole Trump campaign was a publicity stunt that's gone horribly wrong. And so now we've got Trump in the White House, who was apparently the emptiest suit of empty suits that has ever existed. And what you end up having is this war between Steve Bannon and Jared and Ivanka, otherwise now known as Jarvanka, over who's going to control Trump, because he's apparently unable to have any thoughts or opinions or really any kind of attention span or anything that would make him able to actually make his own decisions on anything. So the original idea was that Wolf would just document the first 100 days, but he actually ended up staying for 9 months. So we kind of get to go back and realize what a dumpster fire that first 9 months really was. It seems like it was like ages ago at this point, and it's not even been a year yet, which is really insane to think about. But yeah, I mean, it goes over everything from the transition to inauguration, Comey sessions, the whole Russia thing, everything else that happened. It's just, there's so much there. There's so much stuff. And it's hard to remember that all that happened, because it's like new things happen every day. So it seems like that's so long ago, but honestly, it was like not even a year ago. I mean, it gets to a point in the book where you're reading it and it just starts kind of feeling like shock porn. Like there's, like it has to stop somewhere. Like it's this, things can't keep happening. Things can't keep going wrong. People can't keep getting hired and fired and quitting and going here and there and nobody knowing what they're doing, and not have the wheels completely come off the crazy train. But somehow the wheels have not completely come off the crazy train yet, which is a testament to, I don't know what, dumb luck, I guess. I have no idea after reading this book how this presidency is even still moving forward. The book ends at the point where Bannon leaves the White House in October, which means the book begins when Bannon enters the campaign team and exits when he leaves the White House. More thoughts on that later. But it ends on the note of Bannon leaving the White House in that, I'm going to go back to Breitbart, I'm going to make a difference, everything's going to be great, I'm going to continue the Trump train. And oops, you know how that ends. Okay, so for my thoughts on the book and on some of the criticisms of it. First of all, is this a flawlessly fact-checked, meticulously sourced book? No, it's not, and it was never presented in that light, so I'm not going to take it in that light. Essentially, Wolf says in the beginning of the book, this is just him having a seat in the West Wing, waiting for people to come to him, and him just observing what's going on. So basically, this is him saying, this is what I saw, this is what people told me, so here's what I'm telling you. Another issue is that none of these sources are unbiased. Basically, everybody in this book is trying to make themselves the hero of the story. So any story that you're getting told is going to be told from the slant of that person trying to make themselves look as good as possible while making the other side look as bad as possible. And I think that's where we really come in with like these composite stories where you're being told the same story by 3 or 4 different people, but with different slants on them. So it's kind of like making a composite sketch. You got to kind of put it all together and see what sounds the closest to the truth. And I'm not really a super fan of this postmodernistic, like, if it feels true, it is true journalism. But in this case, I don't know really where else he could have gone with this. I mean, there's no unbiased sources for him to cite. So you kind of just got to go with what you have in front of you. And actually, on the topic of sources for this book, there's lots of sources, some named, most unnamed. But like I mentioned earlier, the story starts with Bannon coming into the team and ends with Bannon leaving the team. So that would lead me to believe that Bannon is actually the main source of this book, and would also explain why he just got fed to the wood chipper. But that is something to bear in mind, that he probably is the main source of this book. And also, there are points of the book where it really reads more like the Steve Bannon story versus the Donald Trump story. As far as the writing in the book goes, it's actually very good. It's very well written. It almost feels like you're reading a novel or you're watching Veep. It's kind of got that same kind of feel to it. He does do a lot of backstories for people. He does Bannon's backstory, Jared's backstory, just in case you don't already know it. But it does kind of have that kind of this isn't real feel, and not that it's like it's fake, but that it's like this can't be real. Like this has to be fiction. As far as the portrayal of Trump in this book, no, it is not very flattering, but it's also not anything that we didn't already know about Trump. We already knew he's thin-skinned, he's not incredibly smart, he doesn't really have a long attention span, he doesn't really want to do anything that he doesn't want to do. So it's, like I said, it's not a flattering look, but it's not anything that I wouldn't have expected. If you would have told me that he was somehow better than he's portrayed in this book, then I would have kind of side-eyed you, but this is pretty much exactly what I would expect Trump the president to look like. Are there some sloppy factual mistakes in the book? Yes. Rookie mistakes by somebody who isn't a rookie and they shouldn't be there. But my problem with the criticism of this is people are trying to use that to lead into saying, if you can get these things wrong, what about these larger things? But nobody's looking into the larger things, of which there are quite a few in the book. Like if somebody wants to do a deep dive into whether this version of the Comey firing is correct, that would be nice, because if it is, that's borderline. That's real borderline right there. So ultimately, would I recommend the book? Yes, as long as you're willing to read it in the spirit in which it was meant. I mean, this is not an erudite book at any stretch. It's frothy, it's gossipy, it'd be a great beach read if the weather was a little better. But yeah, it's a fun read. It is entirely batshit crazy, but nothing in it is unbelievable, especially correlating with what we already know this White House to be like. So that's about it for that. Obviously, at this point, you'd be stuck either getting the Kindle version or the Audible version, unless you have patience to wait for physical versions to come into stock. But yeah, that's about it. So till next time.